So I bet you think I'm going to start talking about self-love. And I might eventually. But I want to start where I left off last week when Charles Holt was here and saying everything must change. And we talked about the inevitability of change and how change is absolutely who I am and who you are. And it's an absolute necessity in life to get with the flow of change. And then we talked about that one thing that never changes. That changeless thing. That indefatigable, changeless thing. Me. Me and you and everybody. God. That thing that never, ever, ever, ever changes. So many of you know that I like to go to the beach and take some water. And I bring it home with me. And then I leave it in my kitchen so that I see it every day. And eventually I take it back to the ocean and throw it in. And then much to Kevin's dismay, I fill up another one. And bring it back to the kitchen and leave it in the kitchen. So yesterday I was going to the beach, and my son said to me, he said, "Dad, don't you want to take that water?" I was like, "Oh my God, yes, let's take the water." So we got to our favorite part in the beach, and we climbed over these rocks, and we got to this beautiful part of Malibu that's very private, but there were a lot of young kids there on their spring break. And I took my jar here, and I just sat on a rock for a while waiting, and my friend Ned is here from Indiana, and the kids, and we're just watching, and dolphins were swimming by, and then a whale showed up. I was like, oh my God! If you ever need to remind yourself that you are one with all of it, come here, figure it out. So I took my water and I unscrewed it, and I was about to throw it in, but I couldn't find the perfect moment because the waves would crash and I wouldn't want to get wet. So then I decided, no, I kind of have to stand in the water, and I did. I went in to there, and so then I saw this beautiful wave, and I thought I can throw it in that wave, and I thought I'll do the next one. And just as I threw it, it kind of fizzled out, and my water just kind of went in the water. Now the whole point of this is that the ocean is a metaphor for God. For life. And it is constantly moving, constantly roaring, constantly crashing its waves on the shore. But when you separate yourself from this truth, from this identity of who you are, you might as well just be a bunch of water in a glass that seems to have no power right now because I took it out of the ocean. So right now, it's not crashing on the waves on the shore. It's not the mammoth energy of the allness. It's kind of in this jar. Yet I'm sure sense memory reminds it who it is. Now it knows. Now it knows even more. So on Friday, I had a session with someone, a wonderful soon-to-be practitioner in Toronto. And this metaphor came to me, and it was exactly what I was talking about, what I knew I'd be talking about today. So I said to her, and I call this story now, Lena and the Waves. And so Lena and I were talking, and I said to Lena, Lena, it's like this. Have you ever gone into the ocean and stood in the ocean and decided that it was up to you to make the waves crash? Imagine if I know, isn't that funny? Imagine if we saw people standing in the ocean going, wow. We do, actually, that's what people do. But what if they were actually in the ocean because they thought they had to make those waves crash on the shore? What if we thought that? What would you do standing on the shore? Eventually you'd say, Karen, it's going to happen without you. Whether you do it or not, the waves are going to crash onto the shore. The ocean does what the ocean does. And you don't have to do it. Well, guess what? That's what life is doing. Life is living you at all times, perfectly. Whether there's a storm, whether it's clear skies, it doesn't matter. Life is living you. Life is living me perfectly. And it's asking us, get out of the water and stop trying to make me happen. I'm happening. You are happening. You are evolving perfectly. Doesn't matter what's going on. Your ocean is perfect and fine. And it's basically saying to us, surrender, Dorothy. Surrender. to the truth that you are the ocean in the drop, not the drop in the ocean. Rumi is so smart when he tells us that. You are the entire ocean in a drop, in the individualization that is Suzanne Benoit. The entire ocean. Well, what if you really are the entire ocean? Do you think you might be living a little small? Anybody? Do you think you might not really be living to your full potential because you still think you're the drop in the ocean and that you're still dealing with the conditions of the weather? No. So this month is called Decide What Matters. Now, before we can really decide what matters, we have to understand about deciding. But today I want to say decide and surrender. And that's the deal, isn't it? If we're willing to decide what matters to us and then surrender to how that looks, oh my goodness, do you think life would be a little simpler? Just a little easier if we actually decide what mattered and then actually surrendered? So, decide what matters. That's our month. Well, today my talk title is What Matters Most? What matters most? Now, when you say what matters most, there's two things going on here. What matters most right now, in this moment? Well, it kind of matters that I stay awake and I stay focused, so that you stay awake and you stay focused. So that's what matters right now to me. It matters that I looked good when I left the house this morning. That mattered to me. It worked, didn't it? So, every moment, something matters most in that moment. But there's a global what matters most. There's an already established premise, Reverend Rita Andriello, that's sending out to her, to Kauai. There's an already established premise that matters most to you in life. So what matters most? What is your global most? What matters most to you? So I want to give you a second and answer that question for yourself. What matters most? Not what matters most right now, but what matters most to you? It's a big question, because then you have to say, decide what matters most. What matters most in your life? Ralph Waldo Emerson, in Circles, which I just taught this week, says that nothing great is accomplished without enthusiasm. Do you know that quote? Nothing great is ever accomplished without enthusiasm. I love that word, enthusiasm. Everybody say that. Enthusiasm. Doesn't that feel cool? Did you let it feel cool? Did you surrender to the enthusiasm? Now, enthusiasm doesn't mean you have to be standing here bubbling up. I'm so enthusiastic! No. That's not what enthusiasm is. Because enthusiasm, in Latin, means derived from God. That's all it means. That thing in you that comes from the most pure space of creativity, that's enthusiasm. That thing in you that just wells up, that desire that comes through you, without any regard to all the conditions and all the ifs, ands, buts, and yeah buts. Right? That's what enthusiasm is. And nothing great, therefore, is ever accomplished without allowing yourself, surrendering yourself to the ocean and getting out of the jar. I keep this jar in my house not because I want to make captive this little piece of water, but because when I wake up and look at it, I remind myself, get out of the jar. Get out of the box. Throw yourself unabashedly into the ocean of your life. Throw yourself into who you are, and then trust that you will be brought onto the shore perfectly, divinely, with enthusiasm. So nothing great ever happens without enthusiasm. And then he also said in this essay, Circles, he said, draw a new circle. We draw circles every day. We are the center of our lives. It's funny, I've had conversations this week about Christianity and about what God is and who God is. And the prevalent idea for God is that God is out there, thinking something about me, deciding something about me, judging me, loving me, but the judging me seems to get a lot more attention. Coming into new thought and stepping into a paradigm where we're saying to ourselves, we are the whole ocean in a drop. I am that which God is. I am God, cutting through all the crap and just saying, I am God, period, or exclamation point. Not I am God, question mark, or I am God, dot, 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 ellipse. I am God sometimes when I'm really doing good. I am God when everything's going well and I have money. I am God when I'm in love. I am God when you love me. No, I am God, exclamation point. And what Ralph Waldo Emerson says in such a renegadian way, and I know that's not a word, but it is now. He says that right where you are the center of all life. Each one of you, each one of us, we are the center, not just of our individual lives. I'm the center of all life. All of life reverberates out from this center. And there are centers into infinitum. And that what we do is we draw a circle around ourselves and then somehow stay within that circle. And what Emerson is saying is, it is time for us to draw a new circle. And then another circle. And when you wake up tomorrow, another circle and another circle. So that the circles just keep reverberating and come alive. And now they are the ocean that just keeps crashing onto the world of your experience. And so as we go through this month of Decide What Matters, and we really start asking ourselves, what matters most? Now I'll get to Karen's song. What matters most really is love. To love only. What matters most is that you love yourself. Because if you are going to stand at the center of this circle, the only way you will stand at the middle of this circle, the only way you'll actually logically understand how to stand in the middle of this circle is to really understand that you are God. And as God, how could you not love yourself? And I got to tell you, I believe that every single thing that goes on in our life that doesn't feel good is because somewhere we are withholding our love from ourselves. It's not about everybody else. It's about me somewhere believing I'm not God, somewhere believing I'm less than, somewhere believing I can't do this, somewhere believing it should be this way, somewhere believing he should have said this, somewhere believing that I am not at the center of my life. And so you may say to yourself, well, how do I love myself? Because it's one of the biggest issues that come up to any of us ministers or counselors or psychologists, trying to get people to love themselves, to treat themselves better. I bet every single person in this room, if I said to you, could you treat yourself better? I bet you would say yes. Is there anyone who wouldn't say yes if I said, could you treat yourself better? No, all of us, as far as I can see, all of us believe we could treat ourselves better. So if we believe we can treat ourselves better, I got to ask the question, why don't we? What are we waiting for? So if I'm going to ask myself today, what matters most? It really has to start with me, the greatest love of all that's happening in me. I have to say to myself, what matters most, and not in an egotistical, edging God out way, but in an ego, powerful, entertaining God-only way, to say to myself, I must be what matters most. Loving me. So the next question will be, how do I love myself better? How can I love myself? Would you like to know how to do that? Yes. Would you like to know how to love yourself better? I have no idea. Actually, I do. I'm going to give you a little formula. It's called the AAA, the 3 A's. Attention, acknowledgement, and appreciation. Attention, acknowledgement, and appreciation. Deepak Chopra says this: love is attention without judgment. Now just think about that for a second. Love is paying attention without judgment. That means I pay attention to everything. I see everything, but I don't judge it. What does that sound like? Love only, forgive everything, judge not. So if love is paying attention without judgment, he goes on in this article to say, attention is the natural state of love. Think about this. So when I pay attention in its natural state, I am just going to love. I don't have the luxury of judging it. Not in my natural state, not when I know who I am. And so I pay attention. So first thing you need to do, start doing this week, is start paying attention to yourself. Pay attention to what you need, to what you want, to what you're feeling, to what's going on. Start paying attention, but in that loving way without judgment. Don't judge. So the first one is attention, and the second one is acknowledgement. Once we pay attention, we have to be willing to acknowledge what we see. How often do we go, oh my God, not happening? We are called the religion that sticks its head in the sand. Do you know that? People call us the la-la land religion. Because we just, it's like, oh, God is all there is, God is all there is. And forget about everything else. Yes, I'm bankrupt, I have no money, but God is all there is. My life is falling apart, God is all there is. No! God is all there is. Why is your life falling apart? God is all there is. Why don't you have any money? God is all there is, which means you are all there is. So paying attention is important. And I've told this story 1,000 times. I'm going to tell it again briefly about my landlord who was a religious scientist who, when we had the Northridge earthquake, my house fell down. Our house fell down, Kevin's and mine. In the middle of the night, the wall crashed down. There we stood, stark naked, standing on Irish Circle, wondering what's next. And our landlady said, don't worry, darlings, we're religious scientists, God will fix it. And I believed her for a second. I believed her. Until about a week went by, and I'm like, Rose. Her name was Rose. Of course it was. Rose! Rose! Rose. God didn't get here yet. When's the wall going up? Or at least some plastic or something. I look funny here, standing in my living room, waving to cars as they go by. And this went on for, what was it, a month? Yeah, went on for a month. Finally, I said, Rose, here's how it's going to happen. I'm not paying you any more rent. I'm fixing the wall. And when I get all my money back from fixing the wall, then I'll start paying you rent again. She went, see, that's how God works. Seriously, right? Am I right? Yeah. God works in mysterious ways. Not so mysterious, Rose. This was not mysterious. This was me taking charge. Because at that time, I wasn't saying I am God. I was just starting to understand that I and the Father are one. I was still coming through that passageway of, oh, I see, I'm more of God than I thought I was. No, now I get it. So your life is yours to orchestrate. I loved what Othello said this morning. You're the boss. You really are the boss. So, attention, pay attention to what's going on in your life. That's one way to love yourself. 2, acknowledge what's going on in your life. Be willing to look at it, and if your wall has fallen down, build it back up. If something's going on in your life that needs attention, pay attention in a non-judgmental way. Most people get stuck on attention because they pay attention and then they're just so depressed about what they just saw. They're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. How did I do that? Oh my God, I'm going to do it again. Oh my God. And then they just go down this path of life. Then they got to come to us. They have to come to a practitioner so we can say, you're God, for God's sake. Yes, you did create this. How creative are you? Look at all you created in your life. Now, how would you like to create something new today? And the answer has to be yes, because you want to, right? So, that's attention. Then acknowledgement. You must acknowledgement. And then the last one, appreciation. I would say that every single person in this room has something enormous to appreciate about themselves. I want you to think about it for a second. What do you appreciate about you? What do you appreciate about you? And I don't want your resume, and I certainly don't want the things you've accomplished. Because the things you've accomplished because of who you are. So what do you appreciate about you? And I hope you have a list rattling through your head. If you're struggling to find one, then you're not really certain who you are. Because as God, you should find an infinite number of things you appreciate about you. I appreciate my sense of humor. I can laugh in the midst of anything, which can drive some people crazy. But I can. I have a great sense of humor. I grew up with I've been laughing my life away, which is why I have so many laugh lines. Right? So what do you appreciate? Do you all have something? Do you all have something? Now what's next? What else? What else can you appreciate? I would like to ask you if every day this week you would literally spend at least a moment or two when you wake up in appreciation for who you are. Something about you, something about Mary, something about you that you love, that you appreciate. that you know, and I want it to be something you absolutely know. And if there's something that you don't appreciate about yourself, bring that to mind too, and start loving the heck out of that. You know, this whole thing about draw a new circle. I was at the doctor this week, and they gave me this huge, you ever get one of those huge things, and they're like, are you this, are you this, are you this? And this was more a positive thing. This doctor, she's a great Buddhist doctor, and she was trying to find out all the positive things in life I resonate with. But there was a list, and there was a line, and you had to circle. Which one resonates most with you? Well, what was it in me circling those things? Because I asked myself that at one point. Because she said, aren't you done yet? I went, no. I went into a philosophical discussion with myself. I'm going to need another moment here. But the question is, what's circling it? And I started looking at it, and I was like, because since I was teaching Emerson and feeling like such a renegade, I was like, I'm not boxing myself in. It's all great. But that's not really the case, because there are things I resonate to more than others. When I walk in the morning, there are flowers I resonate to more than others. There are birds I resonate to more than others. Why? Why is that? Because there is an infinite amount of pure divine enthusiasm inside of me that one day responds to this beautiful bluebird, and that the next day will respond to this cute little hummingbird. That's the circle of life that is ours, and it's time for us to literally put down those circles or pick them up and understand that they are reverberating constantly. So, what matters most? If the answer is to love myself, where does that leave myself at the end of the day? Well, it's like this. If I love myself exactly the way I am, for who I am, noticing what I would like to change, paying attention to what I want to change, acknowledging, yeah, this could be better. If that last thing is that I must be able to appreciate myself, it's the appreciation that takes care of all of this. It's the love that takes care of all of this. It's the ocean that takes care of all of us. It is the love that I am that takes care of everything I want to do. It's what I am that informs what I do. So the focus we must put our focus back on who we are. In order to love ourselves, we must focus ourselves back inward on the truth of who we are. And then wait till you see what happens to your life. When you come from that position, when you have circled the only thing that matters, God, as an identifying marker, not as a guy in the sky, not as something that annoys you to say because it comes from a religion where they really made you upset with God. Because you know what? It's also time for us to stop that. I really believe it's time for us to stop constantly having a problem with our old religions. Because those old religions are still alive and well. And I would like to know that they're transforming. It is time for us to really start taking this teaching at an interpersonal level. And that's why Karen sang that song today. The greatest love of all is happening right here in me. So, I'm going to invite the band back and Karen back. I'm going to ask you all to take a deep breath. And then I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and try something for me. I would like you to put yourself at the center of the universe. Really put yourself at the center of the universe. Let yourself see a little ball of light in your forehead, right there in your consciousness. Identify with that light. And allow that light to just expand outwardly, so that all there is light. All there is this feeling of love. And then I'd like you to feel two of the most magnificent arms wrapping around you and holding you in its embrace and reminding you, you are loved. You are love. You are the light of this world. I am here, center of all that is. I am here. I am that which thou art. I am that. And now I'm standing in the midst of this magnificent ocean, and it is crashing all around me, and I am firmly planted. And I can hear the water as it crashes, and I can feel the dolphins as they swim by, and the whales as they breach and look right into my eyes and remind me, I am you. I am you. And I don't have to do anything. I have decided to surrender and just let it all be, because it's perfect.
Love is all there is. I am one in the Spirit. I realize this truth, and I speak it. I am thankful for it all, so I release it, I let it go, and so it is, yes, and so it is. I know it is, and I receive as I believe. Amen.
And so standing there right in the middle of that ocean, I recognize myself as I am washed clean in this sea of allness, the sea of eternal beauty, pure potentiality, massive enthusiasm, ideas and desires, success, financial freedom, loving relationships everywhere I look. Understanding that all there is love. All there is God. It's what I am. It's who I am. It's who I know myself to be. And so I not only decide what matters, but I know what matters most. And it is this greatest love of all. A love that does not point itself anywhere. A love that just is. A love that expresses. A love that defines each and every one of us. A love that continues to expand and explore and know. And I stand in this as this, and just allow this to be so. As together we all say, and so it is.